bound by witchcraft and eldritch magics. These beings are changed both internally and externally, their macabre ways unknown to the common world.
Was a debt owed or a bargain made? What will you become?
G'day team, I'm Luke from Big Game Small Pieces, and tonight I've got with me Mitch from Among Mates. Tonight we're going to go through Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, and we're going to run through Hexbloods. Now this book was published in May 2001 and is the source book for 5E's incarnation of 2nd edition's campaign world of Ravenloft. So what are Hexbloods? One way hags create more of their kind is through the creation of these Hexbloods. Every Hexblood exhibits features suggestive of the hag whose magic inspires their powers. This includes an unusual crown, often called an Elder Cross or Witch's Turn. These living garland-like part of the Hexblood's body extends from their temples and wraps behind their head, serving as a visible mark of a bargain between a hag and Hexblood, a debt owed, or a change to come.
Ominous.
So we can talk about...
As we were saying before, this is definitely hag light.
Yeah, it's... If you weren't taking levels in it, this is about as much as you're going to squeeze out of it, and from there you've got to figure out what class you're going to develop if you wanted to be very hag-like. So the book then goes on to talk about some origins of which you can have as a suggested way to how your character came about to be. Mitch, you got a favourite?
Oh, definitely. I'm extremely partial to... You began life as a fey creature, but an accident happened that changed you and forced you out of your home.
Nice.
Very attached to that one.
Yeah. I'm actually quite a fan of A Coven of Hags lost one of its members, and you were created to replace that lost hag, and that really ties into hag lore, so I'm quite a fan. This is potentially hag light. You then talk with your demon about how to become hag full strength.
I like it.
You want to take us through their traits, Mitch?
Yeah, so once again, we've got the 3 points of ability scores. So you can go 2 in one trait and 1 in another, or 3 across 3 different traits. But 3 on one trait is right out. Then you have languages. Once again, common in one other, unless you're changing over to this one in that case you retain the languages you did know. Your creature type is Fey, which is an interesting thing that we'll come back to. That is a nice touch. Size, once again, you have medium or small. This time you are restricted to 30 feet, unlike the Dampier. So 30 feet of movement. With this, once again, Ancestral Legacy, you get, if you're starting at level 1 as a Hexblood, you'll get 2 traits, 2 proficiencies. But if you're coming from another race, you can keep all your skill proficiencies or climbing, flying, or swimming speed that came with it, or you can give them up. It's your choice. You also get Dark Vision, which is 60 foot, and you get Hex Magic, which gives you the ability to cast Disguise Self, and one of the best things in the game, the Hex spell. So both these things, fantastic. Once you cast them, you can use a spell slot to cast them again, but you basically get it once per long rest. And then my favorite part that makes this race one of the most OP races in terms of reconnaissance. If you're a stealthy rogue mastermind, this is perfect. You can keep a track on all your group members. Basically, Eerie Token, as a bonus action, you can harmlessly remove a lock of hair, one of your nails, one of your teeth, and go and deposit it secretly, sleight of hand, into your teammates' pouches and whatnot. They go off. Then, as an action, you can either send them a telepathic message and convince them that you're psychic and speak to them almost like using the sending spell, up to 10 miles and 25 words.
Good
Or,
distance.
as an action, for 1 minute, you can go into a trance and see them like you're watching them. So if you're trying to track a dignitary as they go into a house and see who they talk to, instead of having to do the whole mission where you go inside the castle and follow them around, you can just slide a hand, drop something into their pouch, and then remote view their entire trip through the castle, get the whole schematic of it. Remote viewing for 1 whole minute as an action. It's fantastic if you're within 10 miles. So
Yeah.
one of the most powerful traits for level 1 in the game.
And that destroys the token, that one.
It does destroy the token, but a whole minute of visibility, that's pretty amazing.
So what do you like about it? And what do you like and what don't you like about the class, Mish?
I'm a big fan of the Eerie token, and
Yep.
I'm a big fan of the Hex.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't really a downside for the class, for the race. That might actually be, like, the only real downside is the promise of potentially more power and the loss of yourself as you turn into a full hag. But by this, if you're not going to go any further with this character apart from this, it's an extremely strong race. Like, the ability to hex someone and reduce their ability scores of 1 ability. You can disguise yourself and then walk at them while they're hexed and they won't be able to recognize you.
Mm.
You can then drop a token in and remote view them as they go into an important meeting.
Mm.
Like, there's so many things you can do with this character that you get for free that other subclasses and classes don't get till level 6. Like this telepathic one, you're basically getting a sending spell at level 1 if you start off at Hexblood.
Yep.
It's without even touching on the fact that they're Fae that I'll let you go into, because I'm guessing that's what you're going to speak about. Just those things there. You got Dark Vision, you've got the Eerie token, which gives you remote viewing and like a reusable sending spell, and the fact you can cast 2 spells once a day. This is be up towards an ST class, just under, because it doesn't have magical resistance.
Lineage.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's probably what I think is really strong about this one, is that you're now Fae. This can bring you a lot of power from and protection from certain spells and abilities. Now, I can't name them all off the top of my head, but when you've got to make sure that when you read over spells that are being used against you, you make sure they don't say target a person or target a humanoid, because you're not that anymore. You're now Fae. So spells like hold person and such like that on you won't work. They're going to use a higher level spell, which they won't get to much later on, such as hold monster or hold creature. They need that spell.
Dominate person doesn't work.
Yep.
Hold person. Crown of Madness. Finger of Death. Magic Jar. Now this one's actually bad. You can't do Simulacrum.
Yes.
Imagine being an Abjuration Wizard and you're like, oh, I've got this great plan. I'm going to send my Simulacrum in. Nope. No Simulacrum. Can't cast them on yourself.
Well, as the spell's written, you might be able to find haggish ways to do something like that, as their magics can step outside the normal bounds. But that's definitely a DM thing to see if you can get that one going.
Yeah.
Now, character concept. For this one, I'm thinking I've always wanted to play people who link into the rest of the group. And if you can convince one of the other players, and you could both potentially play 2 players that team up as a pair of sisters, and you've combined yourselves as you've both been cursed children from hags. Now, do you just sit there and wait for the hags to show up between you and your sister? Or do the 2 of you go out and try and track the hags down and see if you can get to them before they get to you? Swapping out eerie tokens with each other, meaning they can keep a strong bond between yourselves and you can play that strong family and fated bond. And perhaps maybe at the climax of the story arc, between you and your sister, only one can enter the coven, and thereby the hags pitch you against each other. So now it's a planned PV, player versus player situation where the two of you knew it was finally coming down to this, and who is the better one?
I love that. Alarm bells went off in my head when you're about to climax with your sister, but like I get where you're going, and like I love that concept. I love the brother sister, almost like a Hansel and Gretel going after the witches.
Definitely.
Like I could see a whole campaign coming from this. I could do this campaign for my kids, where basically, hey, brother and sister, let's go kill some witches.
Yep.
You know, child friendly, of course. But no, I really like that. That's a nice way to play it. Okay, so character concept.
What have you got, Mitch?
Where would I go? Oh, I think I would have to go. I'd go with this, and I think I'd start with a changeling that starts off, because they said you get to keep some of your traits, like your flying, swimming.
If you had those, yes.
Yeah, I would argue that, hey, changeling, that's a physical trait as well, like flying or breathing underwater.
You have, I'd have it so you can only keep something, because you were changed into something, and that's when you turned into a hag and lost the changing ability. Or do you want to keep the changing
That's
ability?
what I'm saying. I'm arguing that you'd be able to keep the changeling ability because it's not a magical ability. It's a physical thing like flying or swimming. That's just changing to them.
Perhaps.
But this is what I'm going for. So I'd go for changeling that gets cursed, or when they turned 18, the promise their parents made comes up, and they start becoming a Hexblood. Because then you get that whole, you can sort of change the disguise self spell into be you just changing forms.
Yep.
And I think I'd have to go a mastermind rogue, because I love the concept of being able to like shift forms to like an old beggar that walks past and drops tokens in some of the guards.
Yep.
So you can, I'm blind about it, and you're viewing all the sun, and then all of a sudden you're running around and help actioning people from a distance as you're moving through the group, changing forms. They don't know who to attack. You're in the crowd. Where are you? And you would know where they all are.
Awesome.
So I love the concept of just destroying a city's defenses, because you can change shape and track all the guards at once and send messages in their heads and just mess. And then once you get to a certain level, the mastermind can't be tracked and your mind can't be penetrated, but you can do it to everyone else.
Yep.
So just the concept of complete domination of mind in a crazy scenario, I just can't walk past. Like, you've got to go it.
Sounds good.
How about yourself?
Well, I've already told you mine.
Are you sticking with the sisters?
Yeah.
I thought that was a concept.
No, I went straight into it. So what do you do if you're a DM and one of your characters is a Hexblood? Well, number one, you want to make sure you talk to the player about how they see their story going, but I'd also make sure that the characters always feel like they're being watched or scried upon in some way. Potentially they walk past a tree and it had an eye on it a moment ago, and then when they turn back to look at it, the eye winks shut and it just becomes a normal tree again. Sort of stuff that freaks them out, and it's always watching the Hexblood.
And me personally, you have to throw the dream spell in there. The dream spell is a heavily underused spell in D&D, and it's fantastic for being able to build storyline that you don't have to take the players and run them off to a mountain to find the Covenant and blah, 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 blah. You can have the meeting in their head while they sleep. You can give them exhaustion or warp their reality and question their sanity when they wake up. Is this real? How many dream spells? We're doing Inception tonight, baby. They're going to wake up 4 times. It's a great chance to really mess with your players and also build that connection to their Hexblood roots.
Nice. Very nice. Well, I think we've covered off on most things you need to know about a Hexblood to play them or to have them in your game. So thank you for watching. Before I hand over to Mitch, I will say, if you did enjoy this, like and subscribe, but if you could also go and check out, if you're unsure if this one's quite for you, go check out some of our other videos. We've also done Reborn and the Dampier as well, if that interests you.
And remember, we're watching you.